Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever felt exhausted but still unaccomplished? Are you constantly busy, yet your life doesn't seem to move forward? What if I told you the real problem isn't how hard you work, but where your time is going? You see, there's a crucial difference between being busy and being productive. Busy people are like hamsters on a wheel, always moving, constantly doing something, but not actually going anywhere. Productive people, on the other hand, recognize the true value of time. They protect it fiercely, treating every minute like a priceless resource. Now, I'm not here to dictate how you should live your life. That's entirely up to you. But if you're looking for different results, then you need to take different actions. Maybe it's time to stop pouring your limited energy into tasks that don't align with your highest goals or deepest values. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the habits, thoughts, and distractions that are silently stealing your time. Starting with one of the biggest time wasters of all. Stop wasting time worrying about things you can't control. I've been guilty of it too. We all have. We spend hours, days, sometimes even years, fretting over situations completely outside our influence. The economy, the weather, other people's opinions, politics. These things may affect us, yes, but worrying about them doesn't change a thing. Think of worry like a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, but it doesn't take you anywhere. Instead, shift your focus to what you can control. Your actions, your attitude, your responses, your discipline, your personal philosophy. These are the things that shape your reality. I remember speaking with a farmer during a severe drought. I asked him, "What do you do during a drought?" His answer was simple, yet deeply wise. He said, "I farm anyway." He couldn't control the weather, but he could control how he responded to it. That, my friend, is wisdom. Successful people don't have fewer problems than others. They simply respond differently. They understand the cost of wasting emotional energy on things they cannot change. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you catch yourself worrying, ask this simple question. Is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then let it go. If the answer is yes, stop worrying and start taking action. Turn that worry into momentum. Now let's move on to the next trap that may be draining your most valuable resource, your time. The next thing you need to stop wasting time on is trying to please everyone. This is one of the most exhausting traps you can fall into. It drains your energy, blurs your purpose, and, over time, leaves you feeling frustrated and even resentful. I'll be honest, it took me years to learn this lesson. For a long time, I wanted everyone to like me. I craved approval. I wanted people to think highly of me, to see me as kind, thoughtful, and reliable. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be liked. After all, we're social beings. It's in our nature. But when that desire becomes your driving force, when your main motivation is to make others happy, you give up control. Suddenly, your decisions, your direction, even your sense of self are shaped by the opinions, preferences, and expectations of others. And here's the hard truth. No matter how kind, generous, or thoughtful you are, not everyone will like you. Some people will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you. Others may ignore you entirely. That's just how life works. It's not personal, it's human nature. I remember a mentor once told me something that stuck with me ever since. He said, "Jim, you could be the juiciest, sweetest peach in the world, and there will still be people who don't like peaches." That image stayed with me. It was simple, even humorous, but carried deep truth. Instead of chasing approval, focus on living in alignment with your values. Stand firm in your principles. Channel your time and energy into growth, progress, and adding real value to the lives of others. Because when you do that, the right people, the ones who truly resonate with who you are, will naturally be drawn to you. And the rest? Let them go. You're not meant for everyone. Always remember, every minute you spend trying to earn the approval of someone who doesn't genuinely care about your growth is a minute you could have used building your future. That's a poor trade, my friend, a poor trade indeed. Now, let's move on to the third thing that steals your time and peace, comparing yourself to others. In today's hyper-connected world, comparison has become almost automatic. With just a quick scroll through social media, we're bombarded with polished snapshots of other people's lives. Before we even realize it, we start measuring our worth against their carefully curated highlights. But here's something important you need to understand. Comparison doesn't just steal your joy. It robs you of your time. It hijacks your focus. It takes away your ability to experience genuine progress and authentic achievement. And for what? A false image? Your journey is yours alone. Your background, your resources, your obstacles, your talents, they're uniquely yours. Trying to compare your path to someone else's is like comparing apples to submarines. It just doesn't make sense. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have role models. Of course you should. Learning from people who've already achieved what you aspire to is not only smart, it's essential. But there's a big difference between learning from someone and comparing yourself to them. When you compare, your attention shifts to what's missing, what you lack, what you haven't done, how far behind you feel. It creates a gap that drains your energy. But when you learn, your focus is on growth, on the process, the mindset, the specific steps that will lead you forward. I remember when I was just beginning my journey as a speaker. If I had spent all my energy comparing myself to the great orators of the time, I might have given up before I even got started. But instead, I made a decision to develop my own voice, my own message, and my own unique way of connecting with people. I didn't try to be someone else. I simply tried to be a little better than I was yesterday. Day by day, speech by speech, the improvements were small, but they were consistent. And over time, those tiny gains added up to something meaningful. So, please, stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. That story you're writing? It's not supposed to look like anyone else's. Focus on your pages. Focus on your path. That's how real greatness is written. Now, let's talk about the fourth thing you must stop wasting time on: dwelling on the past. Dwelling on past mistakes is one of the most subtle and dangerous time wasters out there. Why? Because it often disguises itself as something noble: reflection, self-awareness, even learning. But in reality, it's usually just a quiet form of self-punishment. We've all made mistakes. Every one of us has experienced failure, regret, or moments we wish we could take back. That's part of being human. The real question isn't whether you'll make mistakes. You absolutely will. The question is, how long will you allow those mistakes to hold you hostage? Yes, you should learn from your missteps. Extract the lessons. Understand what went wrong and why. Use your past to gain wisdom. But once that's done, you've got to let it go. No matter how many times you revisit the past, it won't change. It's already written. There's a story I often share about 2 arrows. The first arrow is the event itself. Something bad happens. Maybe it brings pain, disappointment, even shame. That's the first wound. But the second arrow? That's the one we shoot at ourselves. It's the endless mental replay. The guilt. The what-ifs. The harsh self-talk that plays on repeat. And that second arrow, unlike the first, is completely optional. You see, successful people aren't immune to failure. They fall short just like everyone else. But what sets them apart is what they do next. They learn, they adapt, and they move forward, wiser and stronger. They don't allow past mistakes to become emotional baggage that weighs down their present or clouds their future. So here's my advice. Acknowledge your mistakes, take ownership, make amends where it's needed, and then shift your focus forward. The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. You're meant to look ahead more than you look back. Now let's talk about the fifth trap, the habit of waiting for the perfect time to start. This is procrastination cleverly dressed in logic. It's the voice that says, I'll launch my business when the economy is better, or I'll write that book when life slows down, or I'll start exercising once things calm down at work. Sound familiar? Let me tell you something that might sting a little. There's no perfect time. There never has been, and there never will be. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances are rarely ideal. Challenges don't wait for convenience. The idea of perfect timing is a myth, a comfortable illusion we often use to justify inaction, to avoid the discomfort that comes with stepping into the unknown. It's easy to wait, to delay, to convince yourself that next week, next month, or after the holidays will somehow be better. But that's rarely how it works. Growth doesn't come when things are easy. Action doesn't feel comfortable when it matters most. I started my career in the middle of economic uncertainty. I began public speaking even though the very thought of it terrified me. I took up writing at a time when I wasn't sure I even had a voice worth sharing. Looking back now, I realize it was never about the conditions. It was about the courage to begin. We often overestimate what we can accomplish in a single day, but we seriously underestimate what can be achieved in a year, 5 years, even a decade of steady, focused action. The magic doesn't lie in finding the right moment. The power is in starting and then continuing step by step, day after day. So stop waiting for perfect conditions. They're not coming. Start where you are with what you've got. Take that first imperfect step, then the next and the next. Eventually, you'll look back and be amazed at how far those small steps have carried you. Now, let's move on to the 6th thing you must stop wasting time on: mindless consumption. We're living in an era of unlimited access to information and entertainment. News feeds, social media, TV shows, streaming platforms, podcasts, endless websites. The content never stops. And to be clear, none of these things are inherently bad. The issue begins when consuming becomes our automatic mode. When we spend countless hours scrolling, watching, or listening without creating, contributing, or building anything meaningful. Have you ever caught yourself saying, just one more video, and suddenly it's been an hour? Over the years, I've noticed something about the most successful people I know. The most successful people I know are creators far more than they are consumers. They write more than they read. They speak more than they listen. They build more than they buy. It's not that they avoid consumption entirely. They read, they listen, they learn, but they do it with intention, not passivity. And that's the difference. I'm not saying you should stop learning or absorbing information. Of course not. Reading, listening, and gaining insight are vital. But it's all about balance. Ask yourself honestly, am I taking in this content to grow, to become more capable, to sharpen my skills? Or am I just distracting myself, passing time, avoiding the discomfort of actually creating something of value? It's a hard question, but one worth asking. Here's a challenge. Audit your time for a week. Seriously track how many hours you spend consuming videos, posts, podcasts, versus how many hours you spend producing, whether that's writing, creating, planning, building, or contributing in a meaningful way. The results might surprise you. In fact, they may even explain why you feel stuck or why your progress isn't matching your potential. Because every single minute spent in passive consumption is a minute not spent creating your own future. It's a trade-off, one you make daily, often without realizing. Choose wisely. Now let's move on to the 7th thing you need to stop wasting time on: saying yes to things that don't align with your priorities. This is where the power of a strategic no becomes critical. Many of us grew up being taught to be agreeable, to be helpful, to say yes when asked. And at its core, there's nothing wrong with that. Generosity and kindness are noble traits. But when you say yes to every request, every invitation, every opportunity, without discernment, you scatter your focus. You water down your effectiveness. And over time, you begin to sacrifice your most important goals on the altar of someone else's urgency. Here's a truth most people overlook. Every time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. That's the simple math of time. Say yes to that committee you don't really care about. You're saying no to a peaceful evening with your family. Say yes to a project that doesn't play to your strengths. You're saying no to the one that could have moved you closer to your vision. This isn't about becoming selfish or closed off. It's about becoming deliberate. It's about aligning your choices with what truly matters to you. That's why you must become intentional, deeply intentional, about the things you say yes and no to. Before committing to anything, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my core values? Does it support my highest priorities? Will it move me closer to the goals that matter most? And perhaps most importantly, is this truly the best use of my time right now? If the answer is no, then you need to be willing to say no, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it disappoints others, even if you're met with pressure or pushback. Because here's the truth, a life filled with meaning and real impact isn't built by saying yes to everything that comes along. It's built by choosing wisely. It's built by saying yes only to the right things. Those relationships, commitments, and actions that are in harmony with your deepest values and long-term vision. It's not about being agreeable. It's about being aligned. Now, let's move on to the 8th thing you need to stop wasting your time on: the endless search for shortcuts. We live in a culture that craves speed. Everyone wants a fast track, a diet pill that delivers results without the workout, a business scheme that promises wealth without work, a course that guarantees mastery without the effort. Sound familiar? Let me save you some precious time. Most shortcuts don't lead you to success. They lead you to frustration, burnout, and eventually, a dead end. Real success, lasting, meaningful success, demands more than hacks and gimmicks. It demands time, consistent effort, focused attention, and relentless persistence. It requires showing up day after day, especially on the days when motivation is low and distractions are high. It means doing the boring, uncelebrated work behind the scenes that no one applauds, but everyone benefits from. I remember speaking with a young man who was frustrated by how little progress he was making in his business. He had tried one strategy after another, constantly switching paths, always searching for that one secret that would unlock instant results. When I asked how long he had committed to any one approach, his answer said it all: never more than a few months. And that's when I told him what I'll tell you now. The real secret to success is this. There is no secret. There is no secret. The real path to success is the steady, consistent application of time-tested principles. It's about doing the right things again and again, even when you don't see results right away. It's sticking with the process when progress feels slow. It's trusting the long game when instant gratification is calling your name. Think of the oak tree. It doesn't shoot up overnight. It doesn't bloom instantly. It grows through seasons, sunlight and storms, calm and chaos. It grows steadily, quietly, day by day, season by season, and eventually it stands tall and unshakable, a living monument to what persistence can achieve over time. That's what real growth looks like. That's what real success is built on. So stop wasting time chasing the illusion of shortcuts. Embrace the process instead, because the journey, the challenges, the setbacks, the small wins, the quiet lessons, that's where true transformation happens. That's where character is shaped, resilience is built, and success is forged. Now let's move to the 9th thing you must stop wasting time on: toxic relationships. This one's not easy to talk about. Relationships are layered, emotional, and deeply personal. But the reality can't be ignored. Some relationships cost us more than they give. Some people drain your energy, cloud your clarity, and pull you further from your best self. To be clear, I'm not talking about the relationships that simply challenge you or require effort. All meaningful relationships take work, communication, and compromise. That's normal. That's human. I'm talking about the relationships defined by constant negativity, manipulation, disrespect, or emotional drama. These aren't just difficult, they're destructive. They don't simply waste your time. They rob you of emotional stability, mental clarity, and creative capacity. They chip away at your confidence, your peace, and your potential. You've probably heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And while that might sound cliche, it holds a deep truth. The people closest to you shape your mindset, influence your standards, and either pull you upward or hold you back. So be intentional. Choose wisely. Sometimes that means having hard conversations. Sometimes it means setting firmer boundaries. And yes, sometimes it means making the hard decision to let go of relationships that no longer support your growth or well-being. This isn't about being cold-hearted or abandoning loyalty. It's about understanding a deeper truth. Your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth are all limited. And if you don't manage them wisely, you risk pouring them into people and situations that only leave you drained. You cannot show up as your best self for those who truly matter, your family, your team, your mission, if you're constantly being depleted by those who don't. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's essential. So take a step back and assess your circle. Who lifts you? Who challenges you in healthy, constructive ways? Who supports your dreams and helps you stay accountable to your values? Those are the relationships worth nurturing. And then begin to gently distance yourself from the ones that consistently pull you down. Those that bring negativity, drama, or emotional chaos. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is simply choosing peace over pleasing. Now let's move on to the 10th way we often waste massive amounts of time: multitasking. Many people wear their multitasking abilities like a badge of honor. I'm great at multitasking, they'll say with pride in their voice. But here's the reality. Science tells a very different story. What we call multitasking, doing two complex cognitive tasks at once, is largely a myth. What's actually happening is task switching. Your brain isn't doing two things simultaneously. It's rapidly jumping back and forth between tasks. And each of those switches comes with a price. Lower quality, more mistakes, and a steady erosion of your focus. I've seen it time and time again. People trying to hold meaningful conversations while checking their email, writing reports while watching TV, listening to educational podcasts while scrolling through social media. And the result? Everything gets done, but nothing gets done well. Excellence requires presence. It demands focus, your full, undivided attention. When you divide your attention, you also divide your effectiveness. Years ago, I visited the workshop of a master craftsman. His work was famous for its precision and beauty. I asked him what his secret was. His answer was simple, but powerful. One thing at a time, as well as I can do it. That, my friends, is wisdom. One thing at a time, done as well as you can. Not 5 things at once, each done halfway, none completed with true excellence. So it's time to stop the multitasking madness. Replace it with what some call monotasking, the practice of giving your full attention to one meaningful task before moving on to the next. You'll not only elevate the quality of your work, but you'll also find that, paradoxically, you save more time. Why? Because focused work eliminates the need to redo, revise, or repair. Now let's talk about the 11th time waster, perfectionism. At first glance, perfectionism might seem like a virtue. After all, isn't striving for excellence a good thing? Isn't wanting to deliver your best work admirable? Yes, until it crosses the line. Because perfectionism isn't about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear of falling short of impossible expectations. And it can be one of the most subtle, most destructive time wasters of all. The perfectionist doesn't stop at good work. They keep tweaking, adjusting, polishing, long after any real improvement is possible. They hesitate to launch a business, to share their ideas, to finish a project, because it's not quite ready, not quite perfect. And while they wait, opportunities slip by, deadlines are missed, and progress stalls. Why? Because perfection is a moving target, often one that lives only in the mind. Here's the truth. Done is better than perfect. Progress beats perfection every single time. And nothing teaches you faster than real-world feedback. You can tweak forever in private, but you only grow when you put your work out there and let it be seen, tested, and improved. I remember having a conversation with a successful publisher. I asked him how his company was able to release such a high volume of books year after year. His answer stuck with me. He said, "We don't publish perfect books. We publish finished books." There's deep wisdom in that distinction. Finished matters more than perfect. So if perfectionism has been keeping you stuck, holding your work hostage behind endless revisions, remember this. The perfect moment won't magically arrive. The perfect version of your work likely doesn't exist. And waiting for either is just another form of procrastination disguised as ambition. Excellence isn't born from never-ending tweaking. It comes from action, consistent, deliberate action. It comes from learning through feedback, adjusting based on results, and improving over time. That's how real growth happens. Put your work out into the world. Let breathe. Let be seen. Observe how people respond. Then make it better. Improve. Repeat. That cycle, not perfection, is the true engine of progress. Now, let's move to the 12th time waster, reinventing the wheel. Far too many of us fall into the trap of trying to figure everything out the hard way. We feel we have to do it all ourselves from scratch, as if originality somehow loses value if we don't suffer through every lesson firsthand. There's a kind of pride behind it. I did it my way. But here's what I've learned after years of trial and error. Success leaves clues. Whatever goal you're chasing, chances are someone else has already achieved it. Whatever obstacle you're facing, someone else has likely overcome it. Whatever skill you want to master, there's someone out there who's already walked that path and left a trail behind. So why not learn from them? Why not stand on their shoulders? Why not let their lessons, mistakes, and discoveries help you move further, faster? Now, this doesn't mean you should blindly copy someone else's path. This isn't about mimicry. It's about modeling success, studying it, extracting the underlying principles, and adapting them to your own unique circumstances and goals. When I was building my speaking career, I didn't try to invent every tool from scratch. I studied the greats. I read their books. I attended their talks when I could. I paid close attention to what worked, and more importantly, why it worked. Did that make me less original? Less authentic? Not at all. It made me more effective. It helped me grow faster. It allowed me to sidestep mistakes others had already made and paid for. So stop wasting time trying to figure everything out alone. Seek out mentors, face-to-face when possible, or through books, podcasts, and courses when it's not. Join communities of people ahead of you on the same journey. Join masterminds or communities of practice where wisdom and experience are shared openly. Surround yourself with people who have already achieved what you aspire to accomplish. Yes, your ego might take a brief hit, especially if you're used to doing everything on your own, but the speed and quality of your progress will increase dramatically. Humility in learning often leads to breakthroughs and results. Now, let's move to the 13th time waster, allowing constant interruptions to fragment your day. In today's hyper-connected world, interruptions are no longer occasional. They're relentless. Emails, text messages, social media notifications, phone calls, calendar reminders, people walking in unannounced. The average person can barely focus for 3 straight minutes without being pulled in another direction. And here's the hidden cost. Studies show that after just one interruption, it takes the brain an average of 23 minutes to return to a deep state of focus. 23 minutes. Let that sink in. If you're interrupted just 10 times during your workday, which, let's be honest, is a conservative estimate for most professionals, that's nearly 4 hours lost in mental recovery time. For hours where you're not fully focused, not fully creative, not fully productive. Now here's the thing. The most productive people I know aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who've learned how to fiercely protect their time, their focus, and their mental energy. They've built systems and boundaries that allow for deep, uninterrupted work. That might mean silencing notifications during specific hours of the day. It could mean setting clear do not disturb times with colleagues or family members. Or maybe it's as simple as batching similar tasks, checking email once in the morning and once in the afternoon, instead of letting it interrupt your flow all day long. I once visited the office of a highly successful CEO who had a unique practice. Every morning, his assistant would hold all calls, emails, and visits for the first 2 hours of the day. No meetings, no interruptions, just focused, intentional work. When I asked him why he was so disciplined about that block of time, his answer was as sharp as it was simple. Those 2 hours of deep, uninterrupted focus are more valuable than anything else I do all day, than the other 6 hours combined. That's the power of protected time. That's the value of working with complete focus, without constant fragmentation pulling you in every direction. So take control of your environment. Don't leave your attention at the mercy of every ping, buzz, or open door interruption. Create conditions that support concentration instead of sabotaging it. Build intentional boundaries. Design your day for deep work, not scattered attention. When you do, you'll not only get more done, you'll experience a stronger sense of momentum, confidence, and real accomplishment. Now let's move on to the 14th time waster, one that silently drains potential for so many people: overthinking. Yes, analysis can be valuable. Careful consideration is often wise. But overthinking, that endless mental loop where you turn a decision or situation over in your mind long past the point of usefulness, is a silent thief. It steals your time, it drains your energy, and it keeps you stuck in place. Overthinking creates problems that didn't exist to begin with. It inflates obstacles that are actually manageable. It paralyzes action. And perhaps most dangerously, it gives you a false sense of progress. You tell yourself, I'm being thorough, or I'm just not ready yet, when in truth, you're just spinning your wheels. I've met brilliant individuals with immense potential who never made it to the next level. Not because they lack talent or knowledge, but because they got trapped in analysis paralysis. I've watched entrepreneurs with incredible ideas stall their own momentum because they felt the need to research just one more thing, consider one more possibility, or plan for one more hypothetical. But here's what experience has taught me. Perfect clarity is rare. Absolute certainty is even rarer. If you wait for the stars to align before you act, you may end up waiting forever. At some point, you have to make the best decision you can with the information you've got. Then, take action and adjust as needed. The most successful people I know aren't the ones who make flawless decisions. They're the ones who make timely decisions. They move forward, observe the results, and pivot quickly if necessary. They've discovered a powerful truth. Real clarity doesn't always come before action. It often comes through action. Endless contemplation. So the next time you catch yourself stuck in the loop of overthinking, pause and ask yourself, do I have enough information to make a thoughtful, reasonable decision? If the answer is yes, then it's time to decide and take action. If the answer is no, then don't keep spinning your wheels. Identify exactly what you're missing. Be specific, gather that information efficiently, and then move forward with your decision. The key is to break the cycle. Don't let indecision steal your time and energy. Replace overthinking with thoughtful action. Then follow it with careful observation and learning. That's where momentum begins. Now we arrive at the 15th and final time waster, one of the most tragic of all. Postponing joy and fulfillment to some imagined future. You've probably heard, or even said, some version of this before. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. Or, I'll finally relax after I hit my first million. Or, I'll spend quality time with my family once this project is finished. This mindset may seem harmless, even responsible, but it's one of the biggest deceptions we buy into. The belief that happiness is a destination, something that only arrives after we've checked off a certain number of boxes or hit certain milestones. But here's what I've consistently observed. People who make a habit of postponing joy rarely end up finding it. Because the goalposts keep moving. There's always another challenge, another deadline, another level to reach. That elusive finish line is constantly pushed just out of reach. Now don't get me wrong, goals are important. Ambition is a good thing. Striving for progress and improvement is part of a life well lived. But none of that should come at the cost of being fully present in your life today. The truth is, life doesn't unfold someday. Life is happening now, in this very moment. And if you're constantly sacrificing the present for the promise of the future, you're missing the very thing you're working so hard for. I remember a conversation I had with an elderly gentleman who had amassed great financial success over the course of his career. But in doing so, he had neglected his health, his family, and his personal peace. What he told me left a lasting impression. He said, "I spent my life stepping over dollars to pick up dimes." What a powerful metaphor. In chasing what he thought mattered most, he had bypassed what truly did. He had spent years accumulating financial wealth, the dimes, while stepping over the true treasures of life. Health, relationships, meaningful experiences, and purpose, the real dollars. So yes, work hard, dream big, set bold goals, build a future you're proud of. But do it without sacrificing your ability to live and appreciate the life you already have. Learn to find joy not just in arriving, but in traveling the road itself. Practice gratitude, not only for what you're striving to achieve, but also for what already surrounds you. A peaceful moment, a loving conversation, a small win, because whether you're enjoying your days or not, they're passing. Whether you're present or distracted, the moments are slipping by. Life is happening, right now, with or without your full participation. And now we arrive at the 16th time waster, holding on to possessions that no longer serve you. At first glance, this may seem minor, especially compared to the more psychological or emotional habits we've covered. But in reality, it's more impactful than many people realize. Physical clutter often leads to mental clutter. All the stuff we accumulate in our homes, offices, or even digital spaces demand something from us. It must be maintained, cleaned, sorted, updated, stored, repaired, or eventually discarded. And often, the value it adds to our lives simply doesn't match the time and energy it consumes. Have you ever looked around and thought, why do I still have this? That lingering question is a sign. Much of what we own doesn't make us more joyful or effective. In fact, it often does the opposite. It creates stress, steals focus, and quietly eats away at time we could be spending on things that truly matter. Now, this isn't a call for extreme minimalism. You don't need to live out of a suitcase or throw away everything you love. What I'm suggesting is something more powerful: intentionality. What do you actually need? What adds true value to your life, either through function, joy, or meaning? What helps you do meaningful work or create a peaceful space to live in? From what I've seen, the most successful people I know are selective about what they allow into their lives. They don't let their environment fill up with distractions. They understand a simple but profound truth. Saying yes to a possession means saying yes to its ongoing cost: your time, energy, and attention. The time and energy it will require. So take an honest inventory. What are you holding on to that's taking more from your life than it's giving? What could you release to create more space, both physically and mentally, for what truly matters? Remember, simplicity isn't about deprivation or having less just for the sake of it. It's about creating more room, more space for clarity, for focus, for peace, and for purpose. And now, we come to the 17th time waster I strongly encourage you to eliminate: engaging in unnecessary conflict and drama. Let's be clear, some disagreements are worth having. Some values are worth standing up for. And some relationships do require tough conversations in order to grow stronger and more honest. Conflict, when handled with integrity and intention, can be a pathway to growth. But here's the problem. So much of the conflict we get caught up in is completely unnecessary. It's born out of ego, pride, miscommunication, or simply a bad habit of being combative. We argue over things that don't actually matter. We get swept into workplace gossip or petty politics. We involve ourselves in disputes where we have no real role or purpose. And every one of these distractions comes with a cost. They eat up time. They drain your emotional energy. They strain or even sever relationships. And worst of all, they pull your attention away from what truly deserves it: your goals, your values, your peace of mind. In observing highly effective people, I've noticed something important. It's not that they avoid all conflict. Instead, they are intentional. They choose their battles wisely. They ask themselves, is this issue important enough to justify the time and emotional bandwidth this conflict will require? Will engaging in this disagreement produce a meaningful or positive outcome? Or am I just being pulled into someone else's chaos where there's no real benefit? If the issue doesn't align with your values, if the outcome won't lead to anything constructive, if it's simply a distraction dressed as urgency, have the wisdom to step back. Walk away without guilt. Then redirect that valuable energy and time towards something that actually moves your life forward. Something that aligns with your purpose and brings you closer to your goals. Now let's move on to the 18th time waster that traps so many people: the failure to delegate. Many of us operate with a deeply ingrained belief: if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. While this mindset may seem responsible or even noble, it often becomes a hidden trap, keeping us buried in tasks that others could easily handle. It pulls our attention away from high-value work and, over time, significantly limits our growth, our freedom, and our impact. And I'm not just referring to delegation in the workplace, though that's certainly important. I'm talking about delegation across all areas of life. Asking for help, sharing responsibilities, outsourcing tasks when it makes sense, collaborating instead of carrying everything alone. Think about this. Every hour you spend doing something that someone else could do is an hour you're not spending on the work that only you can do. Every minute poured into low-leverage tasks is a minute that's not invested in the high-impact work that truly moves your life or business forward. I once worked with a business owner who was constantly overwhelmed. He was working 70 hours a week and still struggling to scale his company. When we broke down how he was spending his time, the pattern was clear. He was dedicating nearly 30 hours a week to administrative tasks, customer support, and routine operations. Tasks that could have easily been handed off to others. Once he delegated those tasks to capable team members and redirected his focus towards strategy, leadership, and business development, the areas where his expertise had the greatest impact, something remarkable happened. Within a year, his company's revenue doubled. And perhaps more surprisingly, he was working fewer hours than ever before. But this principle isn't limited to entrepreneurs. It applies to parents, volunteers, and partners too. Maybe you're a parent trying to do everything for your children. instead of teaching them age-appropriate responsibilities that would empower their growth. Maybe you're leading a community project and trying to handle every little detail instead of building a team and allowing others to contribute. Maybe you're managing an entire household and feeling stretched thin simply because you haven't invited your spouse or family into a shared system of responsibility. In every one of these scenarios, the failure to delegate doesn't just cost you time. It also robs others of the opportunity to step up, to grow, and to feel the fulfillment that comes from contributing meaningfully. So take a moment to reflect. What am I doing regularly that someone else could handle just as well or better? What tasks am I clinging to out of habit, a desire for control, or the mistaken belief that no one else can do them, right? And perhaps most importantly, what could become possible if I focus my time and energy on the things only I can do best? This leads us into the 19th time waster, pursuing goals that don't actually belong to you. This one is subtle, but incredibly powerful. Many of us, often without even realizing it, are living by someone else's script. We pursue careers that our parents envision for us. We chase lifestyles admired by peers. We set goals shaped by social norms and external expectations rather than our own personal values. And here's the result. We spend years, sometimes decades, climbing ladders, working hard, pushing forward, only to arrive at the top and discover we've been climbing the wrong wall. We reach what society calls success, but inside, it feels empty, hollow, unfulfilling. Why? Because the goals we reached weren't rooted in who we really are or what truly matters to us. I've met doctors who secretly longed to be artists, lawyers who dreamed of teaching, executives who quietly wished for a simpler life centered on family, community, and peace. On paper, they were wildly successful, but internally, they felt disconnected from their purpose. There's a unique kind of heartbreak in realizing you've lived your life pursuing someone else's vision, only to discover too late that it was never your own. Don't let that be your story. Take the time to ask yourself some honest, important questions. What does success mean to me? What brings me real joy? What kind of work activates my talents and energizes me? What gives my life a sense of meaning and direction? What legacy do I want to leave behind? Once you find your answers, align your goals, your actions, and your time accordingly. Because when your goals are rooted in authenticity, your effort becomes more than work. It becomes fulfillment. And no, this isn't about being selfish. It's about being honest. It's about living intentionally rather than by default. This isn't about selfishness or narcissism. It's about authenticity and responsible stewardship. You were given a unique combination of talents, experiences, perspectives, and passions for a reason. The world doesn't need you to become a copy of someone else. It needs you, your full expression, your voice, your purpose. To deny, that is to rob both yourself and others of the contribution only you can make. And now we've come to the 20th and final time waster I urge you to eliminate: postponing your personal growth. It's a common mindset. I'll focus on my growth when I have more time. When the kids are older. When work slows down. When the bills are paid. When I retire. But here's what I've learned, and what I've seen repeated over and over again. If personal growth isn't a priority now, it won't magically become one later. There will always be obligations. There will always be distractions, pressures, and noise competing for your attention. Life will never slow down long enough to give you a perfect window to focus on yourself. If you're waiting for the right moment, it may never come. The people who grow the most, who evolve, lead, create, and thrive, don't wait. They make personal growth a non-negotiable. They treat it not as a luxury, but as a foundational part of their life. They read with intention. They develop new skills. They seek out feedback and embrace it. They reflect on their failures and extract wisdom from their wins. They intentionally place themselves around people who challenge their thinking and inspire their courage. Because they know something critical. In today's rapidly changing world, growth isn't optional. It's the dividing line between thriving and merely surviving. So don't wait for perfect conditions. Create them by setting aside time, daily if possible, even just 30 minutes a day. Read something that stretches your thinking. Practice a skill that moves you forward. Reflect on your actions. Review your habits. Guard this time like it matters, because it does. Here's the truth. The best investment you'll ever make isn't in real estate, the stock market, or cryptocurrency. It's in yourself, in your mindset, your knowledge, your character, and your wisdom. That kind of investment pays lifelong dividends in your work, your relationships, your well-being, and your legacy. The rest of your life. As we bring this time together to a close, I want to leave you with one powerful reminder. Time will pass, whether you use it well or let slip away. Days will quietly turn into weeks. Weeks will blend into months. And before you know it, years will have gone by. The only real question is this: what will you have to show for that time? Will it be personal growth, meaningful accomplishments, deep relationships, clarity, and impact? Or will it be missed chances, untapped potential, and the silent ache of regret? The choice, as it always has been, is entirely yours. You can continue as you have, spending your time on the worry, the people-pleasing, the endless comparisons, the distractions, the pursuit of perfection that never arrives. Or today, right now, you can make a new decision, a bold one, to take your precious, irreplaceable hours and redirect them toward what truly matters. Because time is the great equalizer. We all get 24 hours a day. What separates a life of purpose from a life of noise is not how much time we have, but how we choose to use it. So I ask you now, how will you use yours? What will you finally stop wasting time on, starting today? And more importantly, what meaningful life-aligned activities will you begin to invest in? Because when you stop giving your time to what doesn't matter, you unlock the space for what does. When you strip away the unnecessary, you make room for the essential. When you start saying no to distractions, you begin saying yes to your purpose. And that, my friends, is how you build a life not just of success, but of extraordinary fulfillment, authentic contribution, and lasting impact. Thank you for spending this time with me. Make it count. Every minute of it. Every day. Starting now. Wishing you health, happiness, and clarity. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more insights like this.